Welcome to Motivational Humanity. You are not alone.
Can I ask you something personal? When did you stop recognizing yourself in the mirror? Not because of age, but because of who you had become just to survive someone else's chaos. When did you start apologizing for things that weren't your fault? When did you learn to hold your breath every time a door opened in your own home? If those words just landed somewhere deep in your chest, this video is for you. Because what I want to talk about today isn't just about leaving toxic relationships. A lot of people can tell you how to leave. What very few people talk about is what happens after. The strange, disorienting quiet that comes when the chaos is finally gone, and why that silence can feel more frightening than the storm ever did. Stay with me. Because what's on the other side of this conversation might change how you see yourself and what's possible for you for the rest of your life. I want to speak to you directly for a moment. You are not a young woman figuring out who she is for the first time. You are a woman with decades behind you. Decades of giving, of showing up, of adjusting, shrinking, accommodating, probably long before you even realized that's what you were doing. You have raised children or cared for parents or held jobs or held families together with nothing but sheer willpower and love. You have done this even when you were running on empty, even when no one noticed, even when you were quietly breaking inside. And somewhere along the way, maybe in a marriage that slowly turned cold, or a friendship that became about control, or a family dynamic that was never healthy to begin with, you lost something. Not your strength. That's still there. I promise you that. But you lost your quietness, your inner quietness. That still, steady place inside yourself where you used to go to feel safe, to feel like a you. Toxicity does that. It colonizes your inner world. It takes up so much space with its noise. The criticism, the walking on eggshells, the unpredictability, the gaslighting, that eventually your voice gets drowned out entirely. And now that you're on the other side of it, or maybe you're still in the middle of finding your way out, you might be feeling something unexpected. Not relief, not joy, but a kind of emptiness, a stillness that feels foreign, maybe even unsettling. That is what I want to talk about today. Because that feeling, it is not a sign that something is wrong with you. It is actually the very first sign that you are beginning to heal. Here is something that most people never explain. And I think it's the most important thing you can understand right now. When you live with toxicity for a long time, whether it's months or years, your brain and body physically change to match the environment. Your nervous system, which is the internal alarm system of your body, goes into a state that researchers call hypervigilance. It is constantly scanning for danger. It is reading tones of voice, watching facial expressions, listening for footsteps. It is always on guard. Think of it like this. Imagine you lived next to a train track for 10 years. Every day, multiple times a day, a massive train would rumble past. Loud, shaking the walls, rattling the dishes. At first, it terrified you. But after years, your body learned to brace for it before it even came. You couldn't sleep through it anymore. You didn't even notice you were tensing up until after the train had already passed. Now imagine that one day, the train is gone. No more track. No more noise. Do you think you'd just relax? No, you'd still wake up at the same time. Still tense up at the time the train used to come. Still feel something's off. Still feel like you're waiting for something. That is what your nervous system is doing right now. The chaos may be gone, but your body hasn't gotten the memo yet. It is still braced, still waiting. And that waiting feels like anxiety, like restlessness, like an inability to just be quiet with yourself. This is not weakness. This is not a character flaw. This is neuroscience. Your brain formed new neural pathways, new routes of reaction to keep you safe. And now, those pathways need time and gentle practice to unwind. The quiet isn't something to fear. It's the medicine. Here is a painful truth that I want you to hear with compassion, not judgment. Long-term toxicity doesn't just change your behavior. It changes your beliefs about yourself, about what you deserve, about who you are. Psychologists call this learned diminishment. When someone is consistently told, through words, silences, looks, or actions, that they are too much or not enough or wrong or difficult, they start to internalize those messages. They start to run them as facts. You may not have heard the words directly. Maybe it was never, "You're worthless." Maybe it was just a sigh whenever you spoke, a dismissal, a room that went cold when you walked in, an eye roll, a constant subtle message that your needs were inconvenient. Over years, that becomes a script you run internally without even knowing it. I shouldn't ask for too much. I shouldn't take up too much space. My feelings are probably an overreaction. Maybe I am the problem. I want you to hear this. Those are not your thoughts. Those are their words living inside your head, wearing your voice. And here is what the quiet does. It gives you the first real chance to tell the difference, to sit still long enough to ask us, is this true? Or is this something I was convinced of? That distinction is the beginning of everything. Something that surprises many women at this stage of healing is this: they find themselves grieving the relationship, yes, but also grieving the years, the version of themselves they set aside, the things they didn't do because they were too busy managing someone else's emotional weather. And here's what's important to understand: that grief is sacred. It is not self-pity. It is not weakness. Grief is the process by which your heart acknowledges that something mattered, that you mattered, that your time mattered, that your love, even when it was given to someone who didn't honor it, was real. There is a beautiful concept in psychology called, disenfranchised grief. Grief for losses that society doesn't always acknowledge. Nobody sends you flowers when you finally leave a relationship that was quietly destroying you. Nobody holds a ceremony for the years you lost. Nobody gives you permission to mourn the life you thought you were building, but you are allowed to mourn it. You need to mourn it. Think of it like this. If you had a garden that someone had been slowly poisoning, and you finally pulled all the poison out, the garden wouldn't spring back to life the next morning. First, it would just look like dirt, empty, maybe even ugly. But underneath, the earth would be breathing again. And grief is that breathing. It's the soil releasing what it was forced to hold. Let yourself grieve. Cry if you need to. Write if it helps. Talk to someone safe. Don't rush past it in an attempt to be okay. You don't have to be okay yet. You just have to be honest. Now here is where something beautiful begins. Once you've given your nervous system time to settle, and you've started separating your voice from the voices that colonized it, and you've let yourself grieve honestly, something shifts. The quiet stops feeling empty, and it starts feeling like home. This is what I call the re-meeting, and it is one of the most profound experiences a human being can have at any age, but especially at your age, because you are not a blank page. You are a full person with decades of wisdom, experience, tenderness, and knowledge of yourself, even if that knowledge got buried for a while. The quiet gives all of that back to you. You might rediscover things you used to love. A smell that suddenly feels like you again. A piece of music that makes you cry in a way that feels good. A morning ritual that belongs entirely to you. A thought that comes up, clear and confident, with no one there to dismiss it. These small moments are not small. They are the building blocks of your reclaimed self. There is a psychological concept called core self-reconnection, the gradual process of accessing the parts of your identity that were suppressed during a period of chronic stress or trauma. It doesn't happen all at once. It happens in whispers, not announcements. A woman I once heard about, she was 67 years old, had been in a controlling marriage for 31 years, said that her healing didn't begin with a breakthrough. It began with noticing that she had started humming again while making her morning coffee. Just humming. Something she hadn't done in decades. That was her soul coming back. For your moment might be different, but it will come. And when it does, notice it. Receive it. That is you returning to yourself. I want to push back on something that our culture says about women who are healing in their later decades. Society often frames it as starting over. And there is sometimes a cruel undertone to that phrase, as if starting over at 60 or 65 or 70 is somehow too late, too little time, too hard. I want you to hear me clearly, sir. You are not starting over. You are coming home. Everything you lived through, the years of giving, the pain, the survival, the quiet endurance, that did not break you. It built you. It gave you a depth of compassion, a threshold for resilience, a clarity about what truly matters that younger women are still working to find. The psychology of post-traumatic growth, and this is a very real, well-researched phenomenon, tells us that many people who survive prolonged difficulty emerge with stronger values, deeper relationships, greater appreciation for life, and a more authentic sense of self as than they had before. You are not damaged. You are not behind. You are, if anything, exactly where you are supposed to be. At the door of the most honest, most free, most deeply yourself chapter of your life. The quiet is not the ending of your story. It is the place where the real story finally begins. I want to leave you with this. You spent years, maybe decades, pouring yourself into someone or something that did not pour back. You kept showing up. You kept trying. You kept loving, even when love was used as a weapon against you. That is not something to be ashamed of. That is evidence of a profound human capacity. And it belongs to you. But here is what I know: a woman who has walked through that kind of fire and is still standing, still questioning, still growing, still brave enough to watch a video like this and ask, is there more for me? That woman is not done. She is not dimming. She is catching her breath. The quiet is yours now. The space is yours. The mornings, the choices, the voice in your own head, they are yours. And what I want for you, more than anything, is that you use this quiet not to hide, but to listen. To listen to what your body needs. To what your heart has been trying to tell you for years. To the version of yourself who was always there, waiting patiently beneath all that noise. She is still there. She has been there all along, and she is extraordinary. You deserve peace, not someday. Not once you've healed enough. Not once you've proved something to someone. Right now, today, exactly as you are. If any part of this video touched you, if you recognized yourself in any of those words, I want you to do something for me right now. In the comments below, write the words, "I am reclaiming my peace," for just those 4 words, because saying it, even here, even to strangers, is a way of claiming it. Of telling yourself, I know what I went through. I know what it cost me, and I am choosing, from this moment forward, to step back into my own life. I am reclaiming my peace. I read every single comment, everyone. And if you write those words, I will see you. I will know you were here. And if this video spoke to someone you love, a friend, a sister, a mother, please share it with her. Sometimes the most powerful thing we can do for someone who is healing is simply say, you are not alone in this. Sis. If you're new here, welcome. I am so glad you found your way to this space. Subscribe and come back, because we are going to keep having these conversations. Real ones. Human ones. The kind that actually help. Until next time, be gentle with yourself.